company.
It's my honor today to introduce this very special tribute to Sami Habchi. Sami's been with CFD Research for 38 years, essentially his whole career, and he's retiring this month as an Executive Vice President in our Aerospace and Defense Division. It really is hard to think of CFD Research without thinking about Sami, and I've often said that Sami is the heart and soul of CFD Research. So a lot of people in the community know Sami for his work at NASA, and right from his early careers at CFD Research, he was involved with the Challenger solid rocket booster redesign, and he really is a NASA person at his heart. But a lot of people don't know he was also critical to Navy programs such as the ejection seat work in the early 90s, as well as working with the Air Force on MDICE, a multidisciplinary software solution. He really has touched all our customers across DoD, NASA, and the industry. I think another aspect of Sami's career is that he's been a manager, a leader, and a mentor to so many people, many of which are still here at CFD Research and are directly benefiting from Sami's mentorship, and others who have moved on to other careers in other companies, and again, they're still learning and benefiting from what they learned from having Sami as their manager. On a more personal note, I consider Sami one of my best friends and mentors. I honestly can't remember a time when Sami wasn't in my life. Like I mentioned, I've known him for over 38 years, and we've kind of transitioned from that, him being a manager role to being my mentor to being my friend, and then us working closely together and continuing to do great things for CFD Research. And I don't think it's an understatement to say that CFD Research, or me personally, my career wouldn't be nearly what it is today without Sami's influence. Now I'm going to turn it over and you're going to hear directly from Sami as I go through a series of questions with him. I know a lot of people didn't get the pleasure or the honor to work with Sami directly, and this is a great way for you to hear some of his favorite experiences at CFD Research, some of his lessons learned, and just some of his overall advice and wisdom. So I encourage you to continue to listen and learn. Sami, thanks for joining us for this edition of Getting Gear with Samir.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Samir. It's funny, we never done that. I know we've been working together for a long time. We never done one of those. I actually don't have a lot of experience doing these videos. Yeah, so it's my pleasure. Yeah, pleasure to be here.
So what are some of your fondest memories over your 38-year career here at CFD Research?
Well, 38 years, it's a lifetime. Yeah. There's been so many great memories. Again, I've been with the company from the beginning. I worked with your mom and dad for the previous company before CFD Research, which is called CHEM of North America. And we started with the company in 1987.
Right.
So there's a lot of great memories, but most of really the fondest memory for me are from the beginning.
Right.
Yeah, one of those memories is the original or the early Christmas parties.
Okay.
They were very unique, and we loved those parties. They were, it was small. We had sit-down dinners, and there was a lot of passion, a lot of good conversations. But what made those really special, at least for me and my wife, and I'm sure for others as well, that your mom, Sangeeta, would make a goodie basket for each one of the employees, for each one of the families.
Okay.
That goodie basket will have cookies in it, will have nuts, will have caramelized popcorn, and fudge, and so many other things, very nicely made. And for each employee, sometimes 50 of them.
Mm-hmm.
We'd go home and talk to Nawal, how did she do that? It really, left an impression on us.
Yeah.
And no doubt left an impression on a lot of employees. That created that early family atmosphere of the company and the closeness of the company. She cares that much to spend so much time doing it.
I never knew that. I guess I was around when she was making them, but I never knew she did that. So
that definitely, I remember that. In 2008, your dad called me to his office and he said, I'm going to reorganize the company.
Yep.
I'm going to create two divisions, the Aerospace and Defense Division and Biomedical and Emerging Technology Division. And I'm going to consolidate 5 groups into the Aerospace Division, and I'm going to put you in charge of it. The reason that I mentioned that, it just, it really changed my career, the confidence that he showed in me.
Right.
And my career changed at that point.
Yeah.
What I was doing in the aeromechanics branch, I was involved in everything.
Right.
ADS, it was a challenge.
Yeah.
But I do remember that very vividly.
Yeah, I remember that 2001 month with the company.
Yeah. I remember some of the conversation that we had on the coffee table, coffee machine and stuff.
What is your favorite technical project or accomplishment? I know that's going to be hard because you've got 30 years and hundreds or maybe thousands of projects to have to think about. But what's one or two that really stand out to you?
Yeah, I mean, there have been so many. Again, it goes back to the beginning, because in the beginning I was really very heavily involved in everything.
Doing real technical work, right?
Yeah, it's this one is kind of easy for me because a lot of people that knew me for a long time, they probably know. Some of the unique projects and the deals to me is the crew escape system injection seat work in the late 90s, late 80s, early 90s. Is the proposal that we have written, the contracts that we have won, the kind of work that we've done. So we were looking at crew escape system ejection seat characteristics. We didn't have the software at that point. So we put all these capabilities in CFD FastRAN, like moving body capabilities, 6 degrees of freedom, prescribed motion, finite rate chemistry, to look at rocket plume effects on ejection seat. A lot of great work that went into the CFD FastRAN that ultimately made CFD FastRAN a commercial solver. Also, the grids that we put on ejection seat at that point were the most complex done by the industry. You got a human, a female pilot or a male pilot sitting in an ejection seat. I remember we did 2D simulation, just the seat. And then we put an occupant in a 2D. And the first 3D grid that we did, we just stitched a bunch of 2D planes together to make a 3D grid. And then, we purchased CAD tools that we started doing 3D grids. So it was very challenging work, very rewarding work. Yeah. We won a lot of contracts, and then we developed a relationship with ejection seat makers. So it really, it paved the way for the aeromechanics branch, the creation of the aerodynamics and the aeromechanics branch. We hired a lot of great people, like Stacy Robb, Jim Keenan. Right. People who have led very meaningful careers. Les Hall is the president of a company now, Rohit Jain, and many others. So it was really the foundation of the aeromechanics branch that survived for till now.
I think what a lot of people don't realize is, like, back in the 80s when you were starting these projects, late 80s, like CFD was like brand new. Computational fluid dynamics barely existed, and this idea of making these grids, I think sometimes
grids were very simple, were very small. As you can imagine, when a human is sitting in a seat, like an ejection seat, was very complex at that time.
Yeah.
Everybody in the aeromechanics branch broke their teeth on the ejection seat. It would actually take a month or two to put a grid together.
I was going to ask you how long it took to put it together, how long did it take to run? Because the computers were a lot slower back then.
Yeah, you can imagine that the CAD file that we would get from the Navy or a Martin Baker, that would take like a week or two to clean up.
Yeah.
And maybe a few other weeks to put a grid on it. So it was a great opportunity to create some new technologies that led to a lot of good work. So I'm very proud of that.
Yeah. So as we talked about, you've been in CFD Research since the very beginning, since 1987, 38 years. What in your mind really makes this place special?
You hear that question a lot, so I'm going to be really very brief. The way I look at it is, working here is like, I don't know if it makes sense, it's like a sense of belonging, a sense of team, a sense of family, a sense of accomplishment, and a sense of rewards as well. In this company, we do very complex work. Nothing we do here is easy. We work on creating new and innovative technology. We work on very difficult projects. Every single employee has a role.
Right.
And you cannot coast working here. You have to have passion. You have to give it everything that you got, which really makes your work meaningful.
Right.
And CFDRC has a reputation for technical excellence. You're working for CFDRC, you're being recognized, you are recognized as someone smart who's doing good work.
Yeah.
And when you leave this company, you're gonna find a good job. A lot of people who left CFD Research through the years are now leading groups, leading companies. The people that I hired, for example, some of them are president of companies. You combine all of that with the sense of family that we had. I think we managed through the years to keep that sense of family.
Yeah.
And you've done a great job in the last few years about recognizing great work and given rewards for those that excel. So putting all of that together, I think that would make CFD Research a unique place to work.
What are some of the core leadership values or principles that have kind of shaped the way you've led teams over the years?
I've been in leadership for over 35 years. I mean, right after the first 3-4 years, started leading a team for Aero. And I've always, used my core values and beliefs really as some of my leadership qualities, still till today. And they have been changed through the years. I would say integrity, passion, authenticity, resiliency.
Right.
Resiliency, stay with it. If you lose something or you have a failure, you use that to do something better. If you lose a star employee, you take that as an opportunity to hire someone hopefully better. So that kind of resiliency that I think helped through the years. Empowerment, especially the last few years. I've worked with a lot of people. I'm proud to say I have managed a lot of people that have grown, that have taken leadership positions, and they are doing very well. And trust is the center of everything. I think we all talk about that. Not trust just with your employees, just with your customers.
Right.
And to me, it's a very important element. The people that I have worked through the years, be it with NASA, with the Navy, and many, many others, I have developed a relationship based on trust that have served me for a long time.
Right.
And this is my core belief, and some of my core values, which has really helped me through the years. And they have been kind of grown and ingrained with the company, values and beliefs.
I was going to say, it's probably not surprising that most of the values you listed are actually some of our core values as a company, but I think you've been here so long, you've helped instill some of your own personal values.
Yeah, and they have, my core values and beliefs, they have been ingrained, they have grown, they have been shaped by the company as well.
Yeah. So like we talked about, this is kind of a special interview because this is one of your last interviews before your retirement in a couple of weeks. There's one final message you had to share with the company. What would you want that to be?
I'm really thankful for the career that I had, for the programs I worked on, for the impact I had, no matter how small they are on people, especially people that worked for me, the people that I managed. I grew up in Lebanon, in a small town in Lebanese mountains.
Right.
For a family of farming background.
Yep.
My dad was a man of influence. He had a lot of relationships with judges, with lawyers, with politicians, but he was illiterate. So he placed a lot of value on education. So he always sent us to good schools and all of that. So I had dreams of having a significant and meaningful career. Those dreams kind of, took a hit during the Lebanese Civil War between 75 and 79.
Yeah.
Early in my childhood, I dreamed of being a movie director or a doctor, which is really the aspiration of my mom and dad.
Right.
Actually, one of my cousins who I used to hang out with quite a bit became a movie director.
Okay.
And he's one of the biggest movie directors in Lebanon.
Okay.
When I was going through middle school, in one of the science classes, we watched the lunar landing on a small, grainy TV, very small. I was awed by that giant feat, and I was so impressed by the people who worked on it. So I started thinking about engineering at that time. But I never dared to dream that one day I would work for NASA on programs like Space Shuttle, Constellation, Human Landing System, Space Launch System, and leading teams that have provided a critical technology, impressive people to NASA mission and programs, just like the team that we have at NASA Marshall now. So I never dreamed of that. So I'm really thankful. Thankful for the opportunity to work with your mom and dad, with Andre, people like Peter Lever, HQBI, serving these missions and the programs. from the early years that cutting my teeth on writing code for CFD Ace and CFD Fast and for NASA Marshall, to developing technology for the cruise stage systems, to leading the aeromechanics branch and Aerospace and Defense Division for the last 15 years, to working with you and the CFD teams, going through that explosive growth the last few years. The growth that has eluded us, as you know, since 2004 for about 10 years. And finally took place. So I'm thankful. I thank the Lord for giving me the opportunity to be part of that. And I leave this place with nothing but hope for the future.
Right.
For the future of this company. I'm very impressed by the growth that you have made for the last several years.
We have made.
But especially you personally as a leader, for the leadership that you put together. And I think the future looks bright. So I walk away from here hopeful. Be keeping an eye on the company, of course, and I hope I will be contributing in some way or another.
So one of my favorite memories of working with Sami. So Sami is a very hard person to pull one over on or surprise, but about 3 or 4 years ago we had a surprise 35-year anniversary celebration for Sami, and we had his wife Noelle come in, and he walked in, and I walked him in actually, and the whole conference room was full, and he was really surprised. But I noticed what he's wearing today, so we gave him this shirt. We gave him a couple of different gifts, a clock, and we gave him this shirt, and by far I think that's one of his most prized possessions. He goes
I want a retirement shirt.
38 years. He goes around telling people, for those of you who can't see it, you can show one more time there. He's got this 35-year on it. He's one of only, I guess there's 3 people now who have that shirt. He goes around to our executive meetings, he'll wear it to our executive offsites. He's like, I'm the only one who's got this shirt.
That's correct. Well, Andre got one too.
Andre has one there too, so and then HQ got one. So, as we talked about, this is kind of one of your last interviews before your well-earned retirement. How do you want people to remember your time here at CFD Research?
I could talk about that forever, but I'd probably be very brief. I hope I'll be remembered as someone who made a difference. Someone who made an impact on programs, on mission, an impact no matter how small it is, on people, helping people grow professionally and personally. I hope I'll be remembered as someone who had integrity, and who was authentic. That's really all I want to say about that, because I could talk about that.
No, I know, and I don't think you have to worry or hope, because I know that will be true. I think we've talked about it. I honestly can't remember a time when you weren't in my life, and when I started CFD full time in 2008, you were really there as a mentor from that day forward. So
great memories.
Wow, that was really insightful, Sami. I hope everyone watching learned as much from that interview as I did. I personally want to wish Sami the best of luck and well wishes as he moves on to the next chapter in his life. And now we're also going to have the pleasure to hear from some of the people at CFD Research that Sami has personally impacted.
Treat everyone with kindness, because you never know when you're going to cross paths again.
Delivering exceptional value for the customer while being caring and thoughtful about the team.
Be totally committed in everything you do.
Excellence in everything he does. Sami really puts his heart and soul and true passion into everything and does it to the best of his ability, and that's something I'll always remember.
Resolute.
Encouraging.
Self-discipline.
Orchestrator.
Care. Friend.
Foundational.
Dedicated.
Generosity.
Transformational.
Excellence.